Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Murali. I'm a support escalation engineer in the Office 365 Exchange Online team based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Just to give you a brief background about myself, I'm an subject matter expert in hybrid Exchange deployments, FreeBusy in hybrid environments, PowerShell, and eDiscovery, and in-place hold and Exchange Online. That being said, let me give you a brief overview of what we are going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking primarily about in-place eDiscovery and hold offered in Exchange Online Office 365. All right, let me quickly. Is everybody able to see my slides? Okay. All right. The agenda for today, we're going to brush through some of the basics that you may already know. If anybody has missed these features, they'll also have a chance to quickly go over these features offered in Exchange Online, kind of give them a good understanding of what eDiscovery and in-place hold is in Exchange Server 2013, which is the backend for Office 365 Exchange Online. We'll be then talking about the various scenarios where our customers utilize eDiscovery and in-place hold. We'll talk about how to create an in-place hold or eDiscovery, working with eDiscovery. Then I'll be concentrating in the most common scenarios that we see in support and how we go about troubleshooting them, some of the useful tools and commandlets that are available for administrators to troubleshoot these issues before they even give us a call, right? All right. All right. To know about in-place hold and eDiscovery, first of all, we introduced a new search engine in Exchange 2013, which is way more efficient than the search engine that was there in Exchange Server 2010. The new search engine is based out of Windows Search Foundation. We integrated eDiscovery and hold with SharePoint and Link 2013. SharePoint has its eDiscovery center that you can utilize to search SharePoint websites, exchanged mailboxes, and whatnot. So it's like one place for the administrator to go and perform an eDiscovery across the board. How we integrate into Link 2013, all the Link conversations are archived as a part of the Exchange mailbox. Previously, Link used to have its own database where administrators have to go and search the content. Now, since we integrated into Exchange, as a part of eDiscovery search, administrators now have the ability to search the archive conversations in Link. We'll shortly cover the differences between litigation hold, which was part of Exchange 2010 and which is still part of Exchange 2013, and the primary differences between litigation hold and in-place hold, offered in Exchange Online. We'll talk about the need for in-place hold, why you need in-place hold, what scenarios it can really help you, how does it work, and we'll be covering the scenarios, of course. All right, the differences between litigation hold and in-place hold. As I said, eDiscovery in-place hold in Exchange 2013 is a new feature that was part of the Exchange 2013 product, and we kind of improved on several things as to how administrators interact with the product, right, as far as eDiscovery goes. So we now have a user interface for administrators, which is the eDiscovery center that you can see in the Exchange admin center if you log into your portal. Litigation hold was like a one-time thing, like a PowerShell command that you turn on against the mailbox, and you never had like an interface to do the searches or place a mailbox on hold. eDiscovery and in-place hold in 2013 offers query-based hold, which is offers you more granular hold capabilities, not to put the entire mailbox on hold. Like litigation hold was all or nothing. You place the entire mailbox on hold, everything in the mailbox is placed on hold. Whereas in the new Exchange 2013, you can put your own queries in, and whatever mails or items that match that particular search query are the ones that are placed in hold. And to talk about permissions needed for litigation hold, the administrators have to be part of the legal hold RBAC group. Now for in-place eDiscovery and hold, there is a default role group called Discovery Management Group that the administrator or the litigation hold manager has to be part of, which has two management roles underneath, which is the legal hold and mailbox search. The other cool features that we do offer with in-place hold is keyword statistics. Say suppose you have an in-place hold with a certain query, you will see the number of hits against the query once the search runs, which is kind of neat, which wasn't there in the previous version. Also, you have the ability to see the search preview. Once the search estimate succeeds, you can click on a link and then see the preview of the results. One other thing is, as a part of granular hold capabilities, you can actually specify the item types on hold. It can be mail, it can be tasks, it can be linked conversation. You can actually specify what items you actually want to place on hold. Right, moving on. Okay, how does it work? Many of you might actually know how litigation hold and in-place hold works, but I'm just going to quickly go through this. So this is a user's mailbox as an exchange, right? Like you have inbox, you may have subfolders, you have deleted items. And the one that's shown in blue, the recoverable items, usually this part is not, visible in the Outlook. When a user opens Outlook, they usually don't see the recoverable items folder, right? But the key to litigation hold and in-place hold are the items that go and get processed in the recoverable items folder. Okay, all right. Now, a user has in-place hold enabled in the mailbox. User's primary mailbox and also the archive mailbox, if present, right, is placed on hold. Whenever you place a mailbox in-place hold, both the primary and the archive mailbox is placed on hold. There is no switch that can just place only the archive or the primary mailbox. It's the whole user mailbox along with their archive that's placed on hold. So now we have a situation where they have in-place hold enabled in the mailbox, right? Now the user receives a piece of email in the inbox, and he or she deletes the message. Okay, so permanently deleting the message gets the mail to the deletions folder, right? This is kind of, whatever you see in Outlook where you try to recover a deleted item, right? It's placed in this folder, right? Now, a lot of things can happen after the mail gets into the deletions folder, right? We have a process in the Exchange server called Mailbox Folder Assistant, MFA, Manage Folder Assistance, I'm sorry. What happens is when the Manage Folder Assistant runs on the mailbox, a lot of things can happen, right? If the user has litigation hold or single item recovery turned on, right, the items in these deletions folder will be moved to the purges folder, right, and it will be placed there permanently until litigation hold or single item recovery is turned off. Now, if in-place hold is enabled, right, there is the subfolder under recoverable items. It's called discovery hold, right? Now, all the items that are being stamped with that particular search criteria or for that particular in-place hold tag, they'll be placed in the discovery hold folder. Okay. Part of the new offering in Exchange 2013, we wanted to make sure there is immutability to these emails that are placed in place hold. Say suppose somebody tries to modify the message before deleting them or before doing something, right? The copy of the original message is saved to another folder within the recoverable items. It's called the versions folder, right? We do an operation called copy on write. So the original message is actually saved to the versions folder before somebody even tries to modify anything to that message. One thing to note here is the recoverable items folders quota is not calculated towards the mailbox quota. Okay, so say suppose you got a 50 gig mailbox, it doesn't mean the recoverable items folder is part of that 50 gigs, right? By default, I guess in Exchange Online, the recoverable items folder has like 100 gigs of quota, right? So if the user is placed on hold and and he keeps on deleting messages, and if it goes beyond the 100 gigs, what happens is they may not be able to see delete messages and whatnot. So at that time you'll have to call into us to increase the recoverable items quota limit. All right, we talked about the scenarios that administrators usually use in Exchange Online to place mailboxes on hold, right? First thing is indefinite hold. As the name suggests, right, items are held indefinitely, right? Administrators usually do not specify a search query, so this means that pretty much this is equivalent to litigation hold in Exchange 2010, where the entire mailbox is actually placed on hold, right? There is no search query. There is no time that you specify. You pretty much place the mailbox for indefinite hold. Query-based hold, right? As the name suggests, the new Exchange 2013, we kind of went over this before. It offers administrators to place messages on hold that match a particular search query. The search query can be anything like keywords or a start or an end date or a from and a to field, or even message types, right? You place only these items on hold and none of the other messages are actually placed on hold. Say suppose you have a litigation where you want to make sure that items from user A to user B is only to be placed on hold. You can use something like query-based hold and also specify a start and an end date. Time-based hold. So we talked about indefinite hold where the contents are placed in hold for an indefinite time, right? But there might be situations where your organization does not want user data to be there and present in the organization for indefinite time. If you're cool with having specified like 5 years or something, you can make sure that you can specify it here, where the items will be on hold for 5 years, right? You can use this along with retention policies as well. And after the period is over, right, after 5 years, the items can be purged. All right. How does it all relate to Office 365? I mean, whatever that we talked until now, Exchange 2013 on-premise also has all these features, right? Now, talking with related to Office 365, for in-place hold to work, right, the mailbox has to have Exchange Online Plan 2 or Exchange Online Archiving License to enable enable the in-place hold for the user mailbox. So you'll be able to do a search against the mailbox even if you don't have a non-license. But to place items on hold, you will need Exchange Online Plan 2 or Exchange Online Archiving license. All right. One thing in Office 365 is there is, of course, a lot of throttling features that come into play, right? And also because this is a shared service, right? The maximum number of users that you can place on a single hold is 5,000, right? One thing to note is, would I recommend placing 5,000 mailboxes in a single hold? Probably not, because one thing is it is going to make the administrator's work very complex, right? Especially managing these holds, because with the GUI, you're not going to be able to scroll through the 5,000 mailboxes and see if you want to later remove a mailbox from hold. It's not going to be easy for an administrator to place 5,000 mailboxes in hold, right? So what we usually recommend is to split your user base to distribution groups, right? That's primarily used for, placing them in place hold, right? You can, split it up how you want it to be, but a few hundred mailboxes in a DG would be the most recommended, right? That way it's easier for you to add or remove somebody from the in-place hold, and actually how you're going to be going about doing it, right? So all you have to do is go to the distribution group and remove that user and make sure you refresh that search object after you change that DG, right? So the in-place hold is actually removed from the user or added to an user once you add them to the distribution group. Other throttling policies that administrators have to consider when using these features in Exchange Online is the maximum keywords that they can use in a single search, 500. There is another thing in throttling discovery max concurrency, where the number of concurrent searches that you can run is only 2. If you try to, search more than 2, obviously it will be queued, and once the search is complete, they will run. You're not going to be able to do 10 or 15 concurrent searches at once. I've also seen that customers utilize in-place hold for managing inactive mailboxes. Even if the user object is gone from Azure AD or from your Active Directory that may be synced with DirSync, right? If in-place hold or litigation hold is placed on the mailbox, we are not going to go and delete that mailbox because that is user data that you asked us to place on hold. So that will be there. So there is also a TechNet article on how to manage inactive mailboxes through in-place hold, and it's a good read. I would highly recommend that if you're interested in that particular feature. All right, working with in-place eDiscovery, right? We talked about in-place hold. Now we are going to talk about in-place eDiscovery, right? How are you going to perform eDiscovery against these mailboxes in Exchange Online? What are the things that are needed, right? Of course, it's the discovery mailbox, and then how we go about creating or modifying the discovery search, how to work with eDiscovery results. There is one thing that's kind of, I would say, works hand in hand with eDiscovery is deleting selective messages, which we'll talk about as well. Right. Discovery mailbox. Discovery mailbox is used as a target for eDiscovery searches, right? You perform an eDiscovery search against a mailbox. You want to, copy the result to a mailbox, right? Which should be a discovery mailbox. There is one that is created by default for every tenant in Office 365, which has a default of 50 gig quota. Administrators can create new ones as well. It does not need a license or anything. It's very easy to create from PowerShell, right? Permissions needed in order to access the discovery mailbox, right? Use in the discovery management role group are automatically given permissions only to the first default discovery mailbox that is created as part of the tenant provisioning, right? If you create additional discovery mailboxes, please make sure that you give access permissions to the discovery mailbox. They have to be explicitly assigned permissions so you can access them to see the discovery results, right? Email delivery restrictions. We do not allow anybody to send an email to the discovery mailboxes. It's just we want to make sure that the integrity of the results is there, and nobody emails and kind of disrupts the results in the discovery mailbox. This mailbox cannot be converted to another mailbox type, but like a regular user mailbox or anything. All right. To create an in-place eDiscovery search, right, you can use the Exchange Admin Center or PowerShell in the Exchange Admin Center, right? There's Discovery Center. Let me quickly show that to you here. So I have my test tenant here. If you see, you have compliance management, and then there's the in-place eDiscovery and hold center, right? You can use this, EAC to create eDiscovery or in-place hold, or you can also use PowerShell to create new hold and eDiscovery. Hold on one sec. If you see here, I have one to demonstrate all kinds of hold that I have in my environment. One is like an all mailbox where every mailbox is placed, for indefinite time, and all the mailboxes are actually added here as the source. For a time-based hold, I have a hold as well here. If you see, I have put this user B on a time-based hold, and the search query is from January till December of 2014. In-place hold is only for a year, right? And query-based hold, if you see quickly, I have the sources as two mailboxes, user B and C. Also have the search query with the keywords, right? An in-place hold for a few days here, and only content matching the search query is placed on hold, right? I'm just using the time to kind of demonstrate how we use EAC here. If you want to create a new mailbox search, you can create it here. I'm going to do test for this is a demo. Next, you can, if you want to search all mailboxes, you can search all mailboxes, or if you can specify mailboxes to search. I have all my users here, so I'm going to say user A, user B, user C. Okay, next, you can include all the user mailbox content, or you can use the search criteria, right? So if you check this box, right, that's when it kind of differentiates between in-place hold and eDiscovery, right? So if you check this box, that means you're placing those items on hold, right? If you're not checking that box, you're not placing those items on hold, you're just simply doing an eDiscovery here, right? That's kind of key to understand. To use the, while that's saving, I'm going to show you the PowerShell as well, right? So I can do a get-mailbox search, and that's going to return all the, eDiscovery and hold that I have in my tenant, right? So if you see, we created test for it is there. If you see here, in-place hold enabled is actually false, but all the other searches here have in-place hold enabled. That means that items that are matching the search criteria are going to be placed on hold based on what you mentioned there, right? But test 4 is actually just an eDiscovery search, so the items are not actually placed on hold, but it's going to just give you the results based on the search criteria, right? In that case, I didn't give a search criteria. So all the user content is going to be searched, right? And it's going to be returned as part of the search. You can also quickly see the status and whatnot. All right. If you want to create a new search, it's new dash mailbox search, and then I give the name test 5, and then let me test 5. And then source mailboxes, I can give user A, user B, right? Search query, right? I can do something like sub test, and that pretty much starts another eDiscovery search, right? I didn't give the parameter in place hold enabled, so I can do set dash mailbox search, and then I can do identity as test 5, and then I can do in place hold enabled $true, which will make sure that the items are actually placed on hold rather than it just doing an eDiscovery search. Okay, so it's applying those changes. It may take up to 60 minutes, right? So if you now do an get dash mailbox search, identity test 5, you can actually see, hopefully it put that in hold. Yep. So if you see here, in place hold enabled is actually true. Previously it was false, meaning it was just an eDiscovery search. Now it's actually an eDiscovery and placing that mailbox, placing those items matching the search criteria on hold. And if you see the status is not started yet, you can do a start dash mailbox search and then test 5, and we'll get that running. All right. That was a quick demo on how to work with, in place eDiscovery and hold, right? So we did see those command lists that we used, which is the start mailbox search. If you're, placing, some of, if you're actually placing mailboxes on hold, the start or stop search commandlets cannot be used, right? Because you're just, placing them on hold, and in the background, the MFA will take care of stamping these objects and whatnot, and that's how it works. Now, with regards to copying the search results to a mailbox search, right? If say suppose you have test 4 or test 5, the mailbox searches that are already copied to the discovery mailbox, right? Now you try to copy the contents again of the search, right? What's going to happen is we'll make sure that we do a fresh search for you, and the new results are copied to that mailbox. And what happens is the old search results from the target, which is the discovery mailbox, is actually removed, and the new results are copied. That makes sure that any delta items are also getting synced and whatnot. If you want to preserve the old search results, make sure that you specify the resume parameter in the search, and that will make sure that the old search results are there and the new is copied as well. All right. We talked about some of the new things that are part of the eDiscovery and in-place hold, which is the keyword statistics, right? Let me quickly show that to you. If you see here, I have a query-based hold, right? And I have a search query as well with keywords product development, project update, right? And if you see, it actually gives you the number of hits against those keywords, right? Which is kind of neat. I mean, the administrator would be immediately able to say, okay, for these, keywords, I actually got a hit. And if you want to see the search results, you can actually click on preview search results. That actually opens up a tab with the discovery mailbox, and you'll actually be able to see the search result, preview the search results, right? Again, there is a limitation here. You'll not be able to see more than a few thousand items here. So if you want to actually see the entire search results, it's best that you either export it to a PSD or copy it to a discovery mailbox and open the discovery mailbox. If you see, I've obviously got, hits with Word product development. There should be one for project. Yeah, so it actually got things from user C and user B, and all items are actually shown here as well. Because if you see, the query was for give me one second. Search query was for keywords with product development, project, or update, and the sources were user B and user C. So it searched user B's mailbox, user C's mailbox, and put those results in the discovery mailbox. Now, working with eDiscovery results, you have a few options here. One is to copy the discovery search results. Okay, something went wrong with my PowerPoint. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. There was a glitch there. All right. So working with eDiscovery results, obviously the options that are available for the discovery managers, we can either copy the discovery search results to a discovery mailbox, or you can actually export these results to a PSD file, right? We'll quickly see how we can do that here. All right. So again, I'm in the eDiscovery Center inside the Exchange Admin Center. So I have all these eDiscovery searches now. If I want to download this to a PSD, I simply click on this, and then it opens up. Sorry, you might have missed it. It opens up a Click Once application here. So it actually opens up a PSD export tool where you'll be you should be able to specify your location. It downloads the results to a PST, right? Now, if you want to, you can copy the search results, right? You can click on copy search results. We kind of go in detail on how these things work shortly, but I'm just demoing as to what you could do with the search results. All right. So copying results to a discovery mailbox, right? We kind of saw it here where you can click on this and then copy search results, right? Now you can specify a discovery mailbox, right? I have a few discovery mailboxes here. I'm going to copy the discovery test, right? And then there are a few options here that you can use. One is include unsearchable items. When we talk about unsearchable items, these are items that are not indexed due to corruption or encryption if you have password protection turned on, or if there are unsupported file types. Some of the items may not be indexed as a part of the regular indexing process that happens in the backend, right? If you check on that box, what happens is it will try to include those items, but in a separate folder inside the discovery mailbox. And I've also noted here, this is not recommended in Exchange Online. The reason I say that is we've seen cases where for some complex search queries or for a very expensive search, include unsearchable items can cause the search to fail, and usually it's best recommended it's not included in your search when you try to copy the search results, right? Enable deduplication, as the name suggests. Duplicate messages are not copied to the discovery mailbox. If you see, if you are noted in my previous search results, where is this here? Preview search results. Some of the items are actually duplicates, right? And if you don't want duplicates to be in your search results, you could click on enable deduplication. Enable full logging. As the name suggests, if you want to troubleshoot what is wrong with the search, or if the search failed, you can choose enable full logging. It will make sure that it gives a CSV file at the end of the search. Whether it fails or it succeeds, we'll be able to look at the CSV file and determine what went wrong with that search. All right. Export to PST file. Quickly showed to you how it looks like. We have a PST export tool. It's just a click once application that uses .NET framework. So some of the requirements for the tool is you use a 32 or a 64-bit version of Windows or later versions of Windows 7. Windows 8 works. Supported browsers, IE8 and later versions. One thing that I would always recommend is to, of course, use IE9 and later, because I've seen issues where the configuration XML doesn't parse through well in IE8, and the export tool doesn't work as intended. So IE9 and later, we've seen it work as intended. And 64-bit OS, because as I mentioned, the export tool is a click once application which severely uses .NET, and 32-bit limitations with memory and whatnot causes the tool to crash or stop working. So 64-bit OS is recommended especially if you know that the search is an complex search and it's an expensive search and you're looking for the tool to work for a long time exporting the data. I would definitely recommend a 64-bit operating system. All right, I kind of mentioned to you about deleting selective messages and why it goes hand in hand with eDiscovery, right? With eDiscovery, you're able to perform a search query, put up a search query and get the results out and whatnot. But what if you want to delete those selective messages, right? Delete the messages that are matching that search query. Say suppose a company-wide email went out that you want to search across all mailboxes, and if you want to delete that message, you can use the PowerShell to do that, right? Which is the search-mailbox commandlet. This is slightly different from the eDiscovery search commandlets, but you can use search-mailbox commandlet to search for items with a particular search query. There are several parameters in that commandlet that you could use to either see the results. First of all, I would advise to use the log-only switch, which would, give you the list of items that it found, and specify the target mailbox. So, it copies the items after it does the search to the target mailbox, so you can see it first, and then you can use the delete content switch to delete those items, right? Why I mentioned it here in this presentation here is the delete content switch will permanently purge the messages from the source mailbox, but it will not purge the items permanently if single item recovery is turned on, or if the mailbox is placed on litigation hold or in place hold, right? There is a separate documentation that I have specified in the slide here. You'll have to follow it to how to go about permanently deleting the message if you really want to permanently delete the message, right? It involves turning off litigation hold or single item recovery for the period of time where you want to remove these items, right? Because again, if the mailbox is placed on litigation hold or in place hold, and if the item matches the search query in the in place hold, we are not going to let you permanently purge the message. You have to take necessary actions before permanently deleting that item from the user's mailbox. All right. So we covered most of the concepts with eDiscovery and in-place hold. Now we'll just quickly look into the common scenarios that we see in support, some of the cases that we get, and how we go about troubleshooting it. It kind of would be helpful to you as well. Before you can, give us a call on some of these issues, you can, do these, perform these actions and try to figure out what might be the problem. Right? Okay. We get a lot of advisory cases to begin with, right? The reason is the feature is a new one that was introduced in 2013, and a lot of, administrators and litigation hold managers do have questions about how this works and whatnot. The most common ones that we get again is we are not able to place a mailbox in hold or perform an eDiscovery search against it. We are unable to export the search results, unable to copy the search results. The eDiscovery search does not yield the expected results. We'll quickly go over how we go about troubleshooting these. All right. First of all, for advisory cases, you have to review the permissions that are needed to perform eDiscovery and in-place hold. Understand the differences between in-place hold and litigation hold. Some of the useful documentation I've put in the notes section of these slides. We have a two-part blog series in the EHLO blog under TechNet on in-place hold and in-place eDiscovery. Pretty much covers whatever that we talked today in the presentation. So they are really, really good resources, especially the EHLO blogs kind of go into detail on how the mechanics, into the mechanics of eDiscovery and in-place hold. All right. Unable to place a mailbox on in-place hold. We talked about mailbox plans, right? It has to have Exchange Online Plan 2 or Exchange Online Archiving in order to place the mailbox on hold. If you're not able to place it on hold, are you able to even see the eDiscovery Center in EAC, right? If you're not, basically you might not have the permissions to perform, right? So you have to make sure you add the administrator's account to the discovery management role group, right? If you're not able to see anything in Exchange Admin Center, do PowerShell commandlets work, right? If the PowerShell commandlet does not work, that basically means that, yes, you don't have the permission, so you have to make sure that you add those permissions, right? Some of the common misconceptions, we kind of talked about it. If a mailbox is placed on in-place hold, and is deleted, what happened? I mean, does it get deleted? No, we don't remove the mailbox. This is basically what we talked about, managing inactive mailboxes, right? We don't remove the mailbox because you've asked us to place it on hold, so that's key there, right? After entirely purging a mailbox, if you want to entirely purge it, make sure that in-place hold and litigation hold is completely removed. It applies to disabling archive as well. If you place a mailbox in-place hold and then you try to disable the archive for the mailbox, you will basically see an error against the user object in Office 365 users and groups, and it'll probably give you like a correlation ID, right? Basically telling you that something is wrong with this user. And I've seen numerous cases coming in where I'm seeing this error. What is going on, right? And I check to see if the mailbox is on hold and if they try to recently disable the archive, and yes, right. So you have to make sure you remove the in-place hold and then disable the archive. Otherwise, the archive mailbox is not going to be disabled. To quickly check if a mailbox is placed on hold, let me show you something in PowerShell. Right. Now, do a get dash mailbox and then user B, or let's see, user A for a difference now. All right, we do hold, right? And then what it will give us is, okay, so litigation hold enabled is false, right? So the litigation hold is not enabled on this mailbox, but if you see here, in-place hold is actually enabled, and there are actually two in-place holds that are against this user A. So we can quickly take a look at what that is, right? So you can do get dash mailbox search, and then I can give in-place hold identity, and then I'll paste that. Oops, probably didn't mark it. Mark, and then paste. Now it'll return as the mailbox search that this user is against, right? So testify is one of the mailbox searches. If I want to take a look at what this one is, I can do a get dash mailbox search, in place hold identity, this, right? The reason I'm showing this to you is because we do have some customers ask us, how do I make sure that in-place hold is actually enabled against the mailbox? You can quickly do a check against the mailbox to see if in-place hold is actually enabled. All right. Unable to export results to PST. We talked about the PST export tool, right? You can, and also, if you run into the issue with the PST export tool, are you able to copy the results to the Discovery mailbox, right? The Discovery mailbox can, of course, be opened using Outlook. The document and the link in the notes section kind of gives you the steps. There is also an option to enable tracing on the PST export tool. I'll quickly show that to you. So if you see here, I am using a tool called Fiddler, which kind of tracks all the HTTPS traffic from my machine. So I can go to Fiddler options, do HTTPS, and then decrypt all HTTPS traffic. The reason I'm going to use Fiddler is because it kind of shows you the URL that it's going to and whatnot, right? Now, I go to the admin center, and then I try to download this to a PST. Now, since I haven't trusted this certificate, what happens is you get the certificate error here, right? It's kind of a trick to quickly capture the URL that this one launches, right? So here, so if you go here, right, there is a nice URL that actually gives us, right? So I'm going to use Notepad to quickly see this URL. So it's actually making a connection to this, and if you see, it has the name of the search query. It's the query-based hold, and what I'm going to quickly do here is do an AND trace equals 1, right? What that means is it'll make sure it's a it's a way of turning on tracing for the quick launch tool that the PST export tool is built on. So I actually did this way before the presentation. I'll quickly show you how the trace looks like, right? If you see, I did an eDiscovery export with trace, and it gives the trace log, right? It kind of tells you everything as to what that PST export tool went through. So it's kind of a really good troubleshooting tool if you have issues with the export tool, right? So, all right. Common issues with the tool, other common issues, right? Out of memory exception, we talked about it. If you use 32-bit Windows operating system, you may run into this issue because of .NET. And .NET GPOs on a domain joined machine can also prevent that click once application from getting launched. Proxies and firewalls which block some of these websites. You saw here that it went to rest.outlook.com. If you block these websites, you might have issues, to even launch that tool. All right. We talked about the export tool. Now, unable to copy search results to Discovery mailbox. Please, not check those include unsearchable items. That will be the first step that I would do if at all, if your copy results are failing, right? You can turn on logging in the mailbox search. That will give you like a CSV file in the Discovery mailbox, and you can look at the CSV file to see what went wrong, right? If the Discovery mailbox is full, you will get an error with target out of space, basically meaning that mailbox is full. So you can either use a new Discovery mailbox or clear out some of the old search results, right? You can also get errors like fail to search mailboxes, server busy. We've seen that happening because this is a shared service. A lot of customers use this, and if the server is really busy, you can perform search during off hours or the late evening hours. See if the mailbox search succeeds. Right. Also limit the number of mailboxes in the search. Say suppose you're doing 1,000 mailboxes, I would limit it to like 500. Break it into like hundreds. See if that works. Right. Break into multiple searches, and we've got much more success if the search query is not really expensive. Export failed with error type failed to search mailboxes, service unavailable, right? We've seen this happening as well, and one of the workarounds that has really worked for a lot of our customers is to put this specifically in the search query and only include the mailboxes that needs to be exported or the results copied. So make sure that the bottom line is make sure that the number of mailboxes that you put in the search query is to a minimum, and your search query is actually very exact, right? Rather than it being a very complex or an expensive search query. Attempt to leave out inactive mailboxes as well. All right. eDiscovery search does not yield expected results. We do see a lot of customers call into us with this issue where they put a search query, but it's not yielding them the expected results. Some of the results are not being returned, right? One thing to follow is the search query. We follow some of the syntaxes like KQL and advanced query syntax. And you can specify properties like from, to, subject, body, etc. that will help you narrow down the results rather than it being an expensive query. Other common misconception that we see is the from and the to field here. It's kind of interesting. So if you go here, right, query based hold, and let's see, search query, you put a from and the to field. People think that if you put the from and the to field, it means from user B to user C or user A to user B. Well, that's not true. What it does in the UV is actually an it's an OR operation. If you really want to do an AND operation, you use the PowerShell, right? The PowerShell, you can specify search query as from user 1 and to user 2. That means anything from user 1 to user 2 is going to be part of your search, and not everything from user 2, not everything from user 1. All right. kind of running a little late here. All right. Other useful commandlets that you can use, we've seen it, the get-mailbox search will give you the errors and whatnot. PipeFL will kind of show you if logging is enabled or not. We've seen how to see if a mailbox is on hold. You can use this commandlet. And one other cool feature in Exchange 2013 is we kind of expose some of the EWS, posts that you can use to do something with eDiscovery, right? If you're familiar with the tool EWS editor, it has a lot of built-in posts. Say suppose you run into an eDiscovery issue where against a certain mailbox you're not able to do a search, the search fails, you can use posts like get non-indexable item details. Maybe it is failing on a non-indexable item, so it will give you the the item ID, it will give you the error, kind of really deep logging that we use in some of the cases that we see, and we can take a look at the item to see what is wrong and figure out how we can fix the issue, right? And MFC MAPI, of course, we can take a look at the recoverable items folder and see if items are actually placed in the discovery hold folder. All right. Things to try, have test mailboxes placed, run an eDiscovery search. The TechNet and the blogs I referenced previously are really, really, in depth and will kind of help you understand overall how eDiscovery and hold works. So I guess that's pretty